I ended up going to Mount Ellis because as I was making my decision-making process, a copy of the Gleaner came, and it was a feature article in there about Mount Ellis, and on the back cover was a full-page color ad for Mount Ellis Academy and all these people standing at the ski hill. And I said, well, they look friendly, I think I'll go there.
I went to Mount Ellis to ski, mostly, and it was a ball. My older brother, for my freshman year, he took me up on Top Hill. I'd never been on a pair of skis before, and what does he do? He takes me clear to the top of the big hill. And he looks at me and I says, now how do you get down? He says, that's your problem.
It was just such a part of everyday life. There were skis in the dorm, people were hot waxing skis in the basement.
It became really all I did, I think. You know, I went to school in order to be able to go skiing in the evening.
Everybody in the school skied, you know, everybody skied. Maybe there were about 130 students average in the time that I was here each year. Out of that 130, there may have been 2 to 5 that didn't ski.
The big thing I remember, we skied all the time. I mean, it was Sunday from 8:30 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. Saturday nights, after sundown.
I remember I would go to school in the morning, and I'd be on the hill by 12:30 or 1 in the afternoon. I'd ski till 10:30 at night.
Because we skied so much, we sometimes found non-traditional ways to get down the hill. I remember trying to stand on somebody else's skis while they were skiing and hang on to them, or have people stand on the backs of my skis. That is really hard, if you ever are wondering, because your boots are slick and their skis are slick, and you don't know what their skis are going to do next. And so they're going out from under your feet, and so that was an example. I remember when it got really icy, we would just slide down on our nylon coats and pants or whatever. That also was painful, because as you launch off of moguls and land on your chest, it would knock the wind out of you, or very nearly.
Actually, I did mostly the inner tubing, and we would pile 3, 4, however many we could get, and lock feet underneath your hands and stack them back on the inner tube as high as the inner tube would take you, and see how far down the hill you could get without wiping out.
Mr. Alloway, he built looked like a bicycle on skis, and he wore little short skis that were probably 16 to 18 inches long. He strapped them to his feet, and away he'd go. You'd see him up there on the hill somewhere. He'd be just ride it like a bicycle down the hill with his feet out, just having a good old time.
There were times that we would ski down one of the runs that didn't have lights, just for the challenge. If you've never skied in the dark, if it's really dark, you don't know you're falling until a microsecond before you hit the ground.
Being on the ski patrol meant you could work on the hill, and you could ski every single day and get paid for it. I mean, who wouldn't want to be on that,
You can't say patrolling is just a job, because for us, there were some of the classes that we took that, I think geometry in particular, that if we got all of our coursework done ahead of time, then we didn't have to go to class. And so basically, patrolling was that we got paid to skip school to go up and ski. So that's not a job. That's much more than a job.
The Bevan boys, that year, each one of them injured a leg or foot. One broke his foot, the other one dumped hot aluminum in his boot, which was pretty bad. And they didn't want to stop skiing, so they bought a set of skis between them and they went skiing that way. They went shoulder to shoulder and they'd wrap their arms around each other and they'd slap their skis together. The opposite ski, well, they'd pull in one foot up and hold it up, or whatever they did, rest it on the back of their ski, and they'd ski that way. And they were so in tune with each other. It would just look like one pair of skis going down a hill. These kids were good.
Randy Sauter really broke his leg bad. but it didn't stop him from skiing.
He skied the whole season on one leg. So he'd put like a sock over his foot, and I can still see, him coming down the mountain with holding his leg out in front of himself.
And we basically the school built their own ski lift that year.
Coming my junior year, dove right into it, because that's what we were trying to do, is get that thing up and running, because we had to place towers and cross beams and shivs and get the thing ready so we could have it for skiing season my junior year in 1970.
What a neat thing that Mr. Alloway created there with that chairlift there, and just a single seat chairlift, so you couldn't go up with your girlfriend and smooch on the way up.
In the shop classes, we were all building stuff for the lift, and then as those projects would get completed, they'd get transported up to the hill.
When the chairlift went in on the left-hand side of the hill, it went from the bottom all the way up to the top, and it added probably another couple hundred yards of skiing ability to the hill.
My first skiing memories were at the old ski hill and the old rope tow and the old chairlift and all of those things. Learned to ski there. I was 5 or 6 years old. I got a new pair of skis for Christmas and took them up to for their first trip down the hill. Rode up the rope tow, went all the way to the top, and turning, I hadn't really mastered that yet, and headed down the hill. The first of many spectacular crashes that occurred in my skiing career. And I broke my first pair of skis on my first run and had to spend the rest of the day in the lodge drinking hot chocolate with my mom. So it was all right. It turned out okay.
In the lodge, there was just this huge stone fireplace, and it kept a roaring fire going in there, and that was how it was primarily heated. And then on the walls on both sides were broken ski tips, because we skied, many of us were skiing on wooden skis at the time. To own metal or fiberglass skis was a luxury. And if you own wooden skis, they break eventually. And when somebody's ski would break, they would take the broken tip and they would hammer it with a nail onto the wall at the end of the lodge.
But the thing about the lodge was, when we kind of made the place a little bit commercial after we put that chairlift in and sold tickets on the hill, and they had Schamburgers and French fries and milkshakes and all kinds of other stuff, and I can remember that was being a very active thing, and enjoyed that very much.
Yeah, the ski lodge, the original one burned down sometime, shortly after the ski hill stopped operating, and then they rebuilt that lodge. So the lodge was there without a ski area for a number of years. There was a lot of things that happened there, a lot of church events and Pathfinder things, and it was just a real, it was one of the places that we did things. So it was, it was really an important aspect of the school then.
When I came in June to be the principal there, they were in the process of fixing the tow. What had happened was one of the towers had cracked and broken, and so it had been condemned, and they were not able to ski on the ski hill then until that was fixed. And Bridger Bowl had been putting in new tows at their ski hill, and they had agreed to donate one of their T-bar tows and the towers to Mount Ellis so that they could open their ski hill again. And so Joe Wagner and some other people in town, the Duffy family with their helicopters, were in the process when I came of putting in the new tow that had been donated.
Mark Duffy helped a lot. He did set the towers with his helicopter. He'd pick one up, take it up to the top, and set it in place, and we would We would set it, he would just set it there perfectly, right on the bolts. We would put some nuts on and run down to the next one, and by the time we got down there, they were setting another one in. And then as fast as you could get down to the next one, Mark was setting another one in. It was very, very quick, and all of the towers were in place.
I found this hat on the ski hill near the top of the rope tow, when there was a top of the rope tow, in 1974, ski season 73-74. I have worn this hat every year, at least once every year skiing. Most years it's my primary headgear. I have been skiing in places far from where I was expected to be, say in Utah, skiing near a lift and heard somebody yell, "Hey Saxby," because they've recognized my headgear. So I have a constant reminder of the Mount Ellis ski hill in my ski bag.
The most amazing thing about Bear Canyon is that on any given day that we are operating and the public is up there, which was, we were partial, afternoons and nights, weekdays, and then all day Sunday. During that period of time, there might be 2 people of majority age on the mountain. Everything else was run by students. The person who sells you your ticket's a student. The person who's cooking the veggie burgers is a student. And the person who would rent you your gear was a student. The person who was running the ski lift was a student. The person in the snowcat packing the mountain and doing the grooming was a student. Generally, there was never more than 2 persons over the age of 21 on the mountain. We were solely responsible. It boggles the imagination, the degree of responsibility that was entrusted to us as students. It was a tremendous empowerment, I guess is the word we would use today. And I can't emphasize that enough.
Skiing is a sport that is so lifelong. And there are kids who don't have that opportunity ever to do something like that. And so to come to Mount Ellis and be able to have an opportunity to ski, it's not a huge hill, but it's a great hill. It has really good skiing on it with some fairly difficult stuff and some really easy stuff, so there's a good opportunity for people to learn and get good at a sport that they can have the rest of their life.
Where else can say that they have a ski hill? But beyond that, it's part of what makes Mount Ellis, and I hope that that is something that we always work to maintain.
We matured up on that hill. We learned a lot of things from that. I look back and it was one of the greatest times of my life.
It's one of those things unique to Mount Ellis that I benefited from the rest of my life.
Skiing on the hill where you built the chair and you worked there, and it built a camaraderie between the students. There's no way to explain it unless you experience it yourself.